So back in Blender, forgot the keys already. That's the bottom. We've just got to make the top and figure out tolerances. I'm not sure I know tolerances because obviously I want to be able to turn in the disc, but also be neat and not wobble about and clack about, and make a wee puck clip thing for the top. There you go, puck again. Hey Holt, you like to buy a puck? Don't know where that comes from. So, I'm going to make a top, add mesh, and what's a torus? Is that like a donut? I don't want that. Do I want a sphere? A UV sphere. That'll do. We want a UV sphere. We want 100 segments to make it nice and smooth. We want rings. Do we want, I take it that's 16 rings. So if I do 40 rings, what does that give me? Beautiful. Beautiful. However, that's not really what I wanted. And I wanted that 100 wide and say, oh, that's quite nice, I like that. And maybe, what did I say, wide again? Yes, I hear you, boy. That's the dog trying to get a bit of attention. And so that's 50 wide, so it's going to have to be at least another centimetre either side, so 70. We'll give it, just for the sake of it, we'll give it 80. Yes, that's the wrong way. 80. There we go, and we'll make that flattish. No, that's the wrong way again. You've done this before, Robbie. No. And I wanted to make it so as it eggs. Yeah, that's better. I quite like the idea of a wee eggshell, but I don't know how good it would be. Like a wee egg-shaped doorstop. You just pick up and turn and it looks like it's sat on the floor. But then again, that might give the dogs something to chew. They're very fond of chewing things. So that's what it would look like inside, apparently. Alright boy, what's happening? You're correct. Maybe I should start again. Dog has come in and said, Robbie, why don't you do it with a cylinder instead of a thingy? And I have agreed. That dog is wise. Although, did I move that? How do I change the cylinder? I needed to change that first before I moved it, because I don't know how to access it after I've done it. There we go. And then that should be 100. That should be no far away for that. I quite like that, to be fair. And then 80. So that's 80 wide. And yeah, quite like that. So if it was to be on the top of the spindly thing, it would look like that. That is quite big though, isn't it? So we'll go maybe 70. Is that better? It does have to sit on my floor. Although, does it have to sit on my floor? I could set it off on its wee axis, like that, just because it's over-engineered nonsense. I'll get rid of that and that for now. And then, like that. In my head, I'm working out whether or not that button does what I want it to do. And the answer to that question is no, that's not what I wanted at all. However, I wanted it on that side, which is apparently -X. There we go, that's what I wanted. It's still quite high. I could get away with smaller. I think that was supposed to be 80 wide. I think that's where I was going. But that could be 50. There we go. And then if it was to sit down like that, even on the floor like that, I didn't want to scrape my floor though. If I was to sit it there and remove just that wee bit there, although I could do with sitting about kind of more in there. And that way I can turn it So I've got a short end for knocking the door and a long end for knocking the door. Robbie, you're quite clever sometimes. Not very often, to be fair. And now I just need to create this here. Actually, I was thinking I would have to cut out all the holes individually. But what happens if I actually remove, we're going to call that stop. What happens if I remove the puck from the stop? It's a truck stop. Aye, so what happens if I remove that? Well, it kind of almost gives me what I want. So there's my pegs. There's the wee hole that goes in there. There's the wee T-piece. I was thinking I was kind of harder than this. All I need really is a hole through here for a screw, so that I can put a screw in there. So I just need one wee hole. Oh. Okay, this is how it works in real time. My brain, I mean. So if I put it on its side, like that, and then create a cylinder. And then make it, no, I just actually want 5mm, not 50mm for once. Yeah, so if I make it like that, and it's even in the hole, look at that, that's great. And then that would be right through. Hold. I'm trying to figure out whether I should move this down like that, so that, if I can see it, so that the screw, like that's hollow, but then when you put the screw in, the head comes here. So in other words, this whole bit's hollow here. And then I'll make a wee T to click in, or just to sit in even, it doesn't even have to click in. But I need a bit there for a screw to catch onto. So if it doesn't have a lip, it's no catching. So if I give it maybe, I don't know how narrow screws are. Again, should have measured, probably, there. So if the screw is 2 centimetres long, it'll fit there. And then that's quite long. That's the dog seen one of the neighbours. So if I put the screw and it screws in to the puck thing in the middle, so it needs to screw in here. Jenny? No, I got ahead of myself because I'm going to have to lift it and turn it. So I need some tolerance for rising. So in other words, I need like an axis for it to lift on, stay on, spin and drop. And it's only the peg's a centimetre, I think. Is that right? Yeah, so the peg's a centimetre, so I need a centimetre tolerance for it to lift. So I can't quite screw it down there. Hold, my brain is trying to work this out. So if I lift and pause while I figure this out. So I've just worked this out, and actually if I'm going to use one of these screws and it goes in, it's not got an awful lot of drop. So my plan is to make another one of these, but to remove the centre completely so that the screw goes in the top half, but it still has rise. So that's my plan. There you go. There's a close-up of pretty much thin air there for a minute, and me jangling the screw. Yes, this is the big bucks. Am I right? Yeah. So I'm going to make another one of these. Take the centre out. And we're back. I've had something to eat, and in fact I've had a sleep. It's the next day because I was getting a wee bit carried away and a bit confused. So I've had to rethink the whole thing really, because I had forgot one key factor in engineering, which I'd never come across in 3D printing yet, which is tolerances. So I'm going to have to scrap this, as jazzy as it looks, in favour of something a bit more practical. So one thing I do like is 1, 2, 5. So I'm going to have to create it again. Mesh. And then a cylinder. So that was 100, 250. There we go. So that's the same thing. I am actually going to make it only 20mm high though. Yeah, it's going to have to sit up off the floor. At least this bit is anyway. This can move. So this is my new puck. Puck, there it is again. I don't know why I'm calling it a puck. This is a puck, this is a stop. I'm going to call that the stop. And for this thing, I've realised that there is a fundamental flaw in it, in that if I screw it to the floor, even though I'm using a new central pin, if I screw the central pin to the floor, what is to stop that just spinning round and round? So I'm going to have to put a screw hole in here. So that is, I'm going to have to match that to something. So that is 15 there. So for example, wait a minute, that is 15. I would wish there was a wee ruler with the numbers on it. I would like that. So that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, so it's 15. So for example, the pin now has to be 14.75 in order to fit in the middle. Hadn't considered that before. In fact, if I was to create the pin now, dimensions. Apparently I can't do 0.75. Who knew? So if I then move this up, that should fit in with, yeah, with a tiny tolerance. That'll do, that's fine. So they go. I mean, I'm assuming that's like less than 0.5 millimetre there. So that is now the pin. A large pin, I might fall over that. So let's just work on the pin for a minute, because it needs to be roughly, what did I work out to be? So if that's 40, then the doorstop's 20, then the pin needs to be 60. Hey, mathematicians, look out boys, I'm coming. So that's the pin, which I'm now going to make really awkwardly into 2 halves. Don't know how to do this either. So I need a cylinder. I'm going to make a cap at the top for pressing in to stop the doorstop coming off. So I want to make the doorstop cap. Sorry, I want to make the cap another cylinder, and it needs to be 20 by about 2, and then we'll see if we can find it anywhere on where is it? There we go. It never just appears where you need it to appear. Like, oh, you position that nicely and think, oh, look at that, that is absolutely smashing. That is exactly where I need it to be. and then voila. No, it's about half a mile across the zone. 1, 2, 3. I still gotta get this level. So I'm going to put that in the middle. There has to be a better way, surely. And then put this on the middle. There we go. And then it's miles away. Yes, indeed. And then put that in the middle. There we go. So that should be our cap. And then something on, yep. I'm going to add that. There we go. Get rid of this thing now. There we go. So that's our pin. And then that needs to be cut in half. No. I've seen this done in slicers and stuff. I can do it in a slicer, but how to do it in this, I'm not entirely sure. There's two ways of thinking. I could just literally shrink it, but then that shrinks the cap, so I should have shrunk the barrel first. That was foolish. I could make another boolean, because am I right? And then I was having a brainwave there, and then it didn't work. It helps if I think out loud, obviously. My brainwave was to reverse the pin and then have that underneath for balance, but then it doesn't really matter. So that's why I'm not going to do it. Cylinder, so the cylinder needs to be exactly the same-ish. Yeah, cool. And then, not quite that big. Don't really need it that big. I'll make it 30 by 30 by 100. No, why did I do 100? 200 even. Because I didn't press the right button. So, put that on roughly. There we go. And 1, 2, 3, so in half roughly. So a bit there. Actually, just in case it all goes wrong, I'm going to paste it another copy, just in case I make a badgers, and remove, what do I call that, 2, no, but it doesn't matter. Then to remove number 2. There we go. So that's the top half, and then I'm going to do the exact opposite on this one, so that they're exactly the same width, because otherwise something will go wrong in the old manner. So that one, and then remove 2 again. There we go. And apparently it's kept a bit of the clip. Nice. Maybe I shouldn't have deleted that just quite so quickly. There we go. That's better. I forgot it highlights it in orange if it's there. So that should technically be a perfect fit. And now, this is where tolerances come in again. I'm going to have to make a hole in the bottom one for a screw, and at the same time a peg in the top one to push into fit. So I'm told, I did a wee bit of research, so tolerance fit, as in slip in and out, is 0.25, And if I wanted friction fit, which I do for this one, it's 0.15. Don't know how that's possible, but if you push in, I want this to kind of go in and stay so that it doesn't come off. So if I'm going to create a hole, what's that there? Where'd that come from? If I'm going to create a hole in this one, put that in the middle, I'll do. And then create the same, what is that one? That's 14 wide. So I need a hole big enough for a screw, which I believe is the same size as the hole I made there. But now I've taken it away, so I don't know what size that is. Is it 1 centimetre? Just double check. No, one's massive. So about 8 mil. It's the same size as the magnet hole. So if I now create a duplicate of this, and then turn it into, say 9 mil. And then that gives me my lid, and then another one. By lid, I'll explain just in a wee minute. So that then has to be, I think it was 6 mil, was it? For the actual screw itself. So essentially, this thing would be, say 5 mil, yeah. Just that. Like a wee peg for the screw to go in. Have I accidentally flicked that to be the right size? As long as it comes out the bottom, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Make sure it's dead centre. And then join them. Move that over to here. Make sure it's dead centre. And then just move it up a tiny bit so that the comes out the top and bottom. So, pin 1 and remove, what are we calling that one? Pin 3. And hopefully, there we go. Hey, why is there a gap in between there? With a join. Maybe I should have booleaned it. Oh, that should be absolutely fine. Why is it not absolutely fine? Who can tell? Right, so if I remove that from that. And I've still got a skin there for some reason. Is that just... I can't work out if that's a bottom skin or a top skin. Meaning the top half of the peg or the bottom, because I was just going to double it over. Kinda looks like a bottom one. So move that back, and then move that down, and try it again. What happened there, do you think? Nobody knows. Nice. Remove pin 3. Why is it doing that? What's going on there? Why is it suddenly just removing itself? That's not what anybody wanted. Right, in times of trouble, undo it all, and then just create a new peg. That's shocking. unless I just do the opposite. No, I'm just going to create a new peg so I can unjoin it now. If I remember how to do this, you do that and you press P and then by loose parts. There we go, and that creates two different parts. I went through that way too fast. Don't ask me to do it again. So that now has separated that. So I need to create a boolean to join it in the hopes, right, in the hopes that that doesn't have that funny skin. And then add 3. Has that given me my pin? So I'll get rid of that. And then move that back in place. And then move it up a wee bit. And subtract the other one. Will this give me my skin? No. So joining's the wrong thing to do. Cool. So we'll get rid of that peg because that was just a cut peg. And then we'll call that one pin bottom. And then that's pin top, so very quickly. Doing well here. I can't remember what size that was. Ignore me. Hopefully I'm just going to edit that bit out. So put it in the wireframe and move that into a place where I can actually count. Even then, like the big solid white lines, they're not solid enough. How are you supposed to see? And why is that away up there? I'm just quickly measuring how wide that is again because I forgot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6. Right, so I had a bit of a thought there. Actually, I've done this incorrectly. So that needs to be, if I put that in there for the screw and the screw head goes there, I've got nowhere for the pin to go. So I need to put the pin in. So that needs to be much longer. So I need that to be at least about half-ish. Or maybe at least nearly half. So make that 20. And then join it. Is that not pin 2? Oh, it is. Oh yeah. There we go. That's why it's not highlighting. So that's what I need. And that can go. And then I need to centre that. Oh, no. I will get used to the keys at some point in life, just not today. There we go, so that should be centred. And then I need to move that down about halfway to about there. Is that right? Just make sure it's in the middle. Nope. So we're calling that pin bottom. And then we'll remove, that's pin 3, so we'll remove pin 3. And that should have given me, why has it got a funny, Why's it got a funny hole? So like there's any, you can't see right through it. What's it got on there? Is that just to test me? Is that not joined? Yeah, there's a gap. Silly man! So, in order to remove them, because I have joined them, I have no idea. I wonder, I did find a trick, but it's for joined parts, not blaned parts. So if I do that, and then go P by loose, hey, look at that, it worked. And then go back into object mode, nice. So that's now 2 parts again. There you go, if ever you're in desperation, there we go. So it's P, remove by loose parts. So pin 2 and add it to pin 3. And then, there we go. Move it back in there. Hopefully it now is joined. Try and actually get it in the middle, which is there. Make sure it's sticking at the top and bottom. And about halfway down. So that's 2 centimeters. There. My screws are, yeah, 2 centimeters. That gives me enough for a screw. So down a wee bit there. I don't want to go too far or I'll go through my floorboards. Obviously I have to grip into the floorboard, just hopefully not that far. And remove, why have I called that pin 1? Why is it not pin bottom? And remove the pin 2. Pin 2! And hopefully that's given me a complete hole. And there's a doorbell. Pause. And we're back. So, just the postman delivering a new vinyl album because I'm obsessed. So, that's the bottom half done, and now we deal with the top. So obviously for a tension fit, I'm going to have to use the top half, which was 9mm. And the hole was 9mm, so instead of adding, I'm going to have to take away. So I just need a cylinder. And for some reason the dog now wants to know why it wasn't invited to the door, which is why it's doing that twiny noise. Just you behave. So 8.85. Oh, 8.85. It was just the postman, and he wasn't really bothered about seeing me. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that okay? Is it okay that I went without you? You just chill your wee beans. I'm making an exciting doorstop. You're right, it's probably not exciting for anybody but me. And then I forgot how deep it is there, so I'm just going to wing it. Get rid of that bit and that bit of the note. And then make that say 50 the note. So it was just over a centimetre. So if I make it a centimetre, that'll do, because it's just gonna plug in. Put that on the centre. And zoom it right up there like that. Make sure there's no gap. What have we learned from gut? And then make sure it's actually in the same space. Right down there like that. There we go. If only everything was as easy as centering like that. So that is now my peg. and add cylinder 1. And hopefully it hasn't deleted the whole peg. So there we go, that should be a press fit peg. Should be, with a screw hole in the bottom. So I'm going to call that, or pin and pin. I don't need to call it, that's fine, but I might call it just top, just instead, just in case. And that should fit through this, which only needs one more modification, I realised after I'd done it, is the screw hole. So I'm going to have to put a screw hole in there. And if I remember the size of the hole, it was 6mm wide. 6mm. I could have used the same thing I used for that and just put another one in there. Never thought of that. Because I was a rookie and I was foolish. Where did that go? That was not what I wanted. So, 6mm. Why did he 9mm, Robbie, when it's 6mm? Because that's the top. What is that there? 5mm. I forgot why I put that there. I'm just going to make it 6 now. And then move it up here and make a peg. So if I make that. I only made it 10mm so I could see it on the space. So this needs to be, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because that's just the bottom. So I'm going to join these two. Who knew this was actually on the line? That makes it so much easier for centering. There we go. I'll make sure they're actually joined. That would be clever. So cylinder 1 to cylinder. Now, a wise person would probably have created about 40 of these and kept them in a toolkit, and then used it whenever it was necessary. Just pulled it out and went, I need a screw hole there, that'll do me. So if I put that there, in the middle-ish, doesn't really matter where this is, as long as I can put a screw in and it's not there we go, that should knock. Oh no, that would have been foolish. That's cylinder 1, isn't it? No, that's not cylinder 1. No, it's just cylinder. It's just cylinder. Who knew? And that should have created my screw hole. There we go. Magnet hole, pinhole, screw hole. Right. I'm going to save that and send it to print, which might be a wee bit messy, so I might just skip, as I need to create the 3 parts. One, or can I just select them? No. Can I do that? Oh, do that. Export as I'll just go pin, fucking pin. Don't say that fast. And this is simple to come out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really impressed. Look at that. Probably not as exciting to look at as I sound. However, watch this. Perfect tolerance. So this goes in and out, no bother. And this grips, no bother. I'm actually really impressed with that. So much so, I'm kind of scared to print anything else in case it doesn't go according to plan. There is only one thing that I have made a slight error on, and that's magnet sizes. So luckily I've got two sets of magnets that are exceptionally powerful by the looks of it. Look at that. So the magnet holes are slightly too, watch this, watch. Yes, magic. The magnet holes are slightly too big, and the ease at which that flew out there did not help. So yeah, it doesn't quite fit in the hole. It might help if I move the other magnets away and not drop that on the floor. So yeah, they didn't quite sit in flush, which is a bit of a shame. However, the 6mm magnet, that's the 8mm magnet, the 6mm magnet, it fights fine. So I probably have to go with the 6mm magnets, which are not quite as powerful, but it still should do the job. I might even be better off just doing an 8mm at the top, 6mm on the bottom. But other than that, quite impressed with it. This is the first bit of actual over-engineering that I have achieved. It is not lost on me, but here is Mark 1 that I'm currently using as a pencil holder. There's Mark 1. It's not lost on me that I could just literally turn it upside down, screw it to the floor, and there we have a doorstop. It would do the job just the same. Back over a blender, and with newfound confidence in my parts that I have made. That's a weird way of saying parts. We're going to work on the top half. So if the functional part is that, I thought about, because it's got to go on the ground, and yep, I'm using the wrong keys again, well done. Zoom in and out, that's Control, Shift, there we go. So yeah, I want it to be, so it's gonna, this pin and this together, obviously make it 6mm high. So I don't really want this to float in the air because I'm not quite sure how sturdy that will actually be. And if that's, say it sits in about there, if that's what it's going to look like, it's going to be a bit skew with. I'm just going to move them out the way. I'm not going to delete them just in case I need them at some point, because lessons learned. So again, need to learn the keys, Robbie, learn the keys. Then, so if that's in the middle, these need to get away. So that one's about, probably actually could do would be more about there. That gives me a big and a small. Yeah, plus with a bit of purchase. So the plan is to have a sunken part that I can lift while still staying pinned, and I'll maybe actually cut a chunk out of here, or just extend a chunk in here for reinforcement. So I'm not quite sure how to do that. Might just put in I'll wing it as usual. I put in a cylinder, gonna make it, so if that is 10 wide, 10 centimetres that is. I realise I keep on conflating centimetres and millimetres. That's just me being useless. There we go, move that on there. And then move it to the centre. So if I just reinforce, say, that part, I'll need to shrink that obviously, so about 95. So it'll fit in. That was a nice guess, wasn't it? That gives me a rigid bit for the bottom so that only the tip sticks out there. That's what the vicar said to the nun. And actually, yeah, so if I make that, I don't know if that's the right axis or not, but good guess, look at that. Well, that's better. So yeah, that looks about better. It's a bit better structure, and that should be what, 6? So 60 mil tall, 6 centimeters. There we go. Got the right vernacular phrasing, wording, sizing, whatever you want to call it. My brain doesn't work in the heat. It's very hot today. I've had to open the windows. Imagine opening the windows. I'm confused. So that's 3 with an extra 1. So technically that should be 2, and it lifts up to there. So actually that can't be that height. So it has to be 50. That's better. And then that joins on to that, which gives me a more solid body. So it looks like that. Quite like that. That gives me a wee bit. So that's just a lip of tension as opposed to the whole thing being vulnerable. I make words up. It's up to yourself. You can decipher it. The whole point is, if you put on like automatic subtitles, even the AI is just going to go, what is he talking about? I've not got a clue what he's talking about. So if I marry up the top of that to that line, and marry up the top of that to the line, there we go. And then I just need to move the main puck out the way, and I join, what are we going to call this? So main puck, pin pump, down bomb. So I'm going to call this the stop. I've already called it the stop. I don't know why I try to be clever. So I need to add cylinder 2 to the stop. And that should give me cylinder 2, move it out of the way. That should give me my top bit. Then I need to, I'll not need that again, I don't think. There's my pins. I'm quite proud of my pins. So I just need to create a hole big enough for that, but not big enough. So that was 50 mil wide, so it needs to be a comfort fit. So I need to create a cylinder with a comfort fit of 50.25, which it will change to something, 50.2. I don't know why it won't do. I'm just typing in 5 because I'm feared in case it doesn't work. And then that will give me the whole comfort fit of that bit with 3 centimeters tall, should be. So I need to bring that down so it's 3 centimeters. Oh, that brings it to the puck. Will that make it weak, do you think? It shouldn't, should it? And no. This is where I wish it would just create them in the middle so that it made sense. So yeah, so it's about the right size. I just need to move it up to where I want it, which was about there, I think. Was it there? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, so that gives me the big, no. That wasn't a word, that was just my brain backfiring as I was thinking. So I then need to remove cylinder 2 from the main stop. However, I've just, I'm remembering the last time, there was a bit of an error last time because I tried to take 2 out and it went blank. You may wonder why I'm swinging them all over the place. So I need to create another one to come out the top for this bit here. and the top bit was, just to remind myself, it's that whole pin, so it's 1, 2.5, so it was 25mm. So I need to do another cylinder, copy that one, and then paste it. So that needs to be 25.2. See, it says 25 at the end there for some reason. So even though, did that leave the point in? No, it did not. I had to add it. So it's still there even though it doesn't display. That's very odd. So 25, 25, there we go. And this doesn't, as long as it's in the centre, it doesn't really have to have a height as such. This is where like Photoshop and stuff just absolutely excels. You just align it and boom, done. And then bring that to the top. Although it doesn't really need to be at the top, just as long as it's joined, that'll do, and makes it out at the top. So that's cylinder 2 and cylinder 3. And then that can, did that make it? I did. So I'll move that out of the way, just double check that that worked. Yep, that's fine. And then move that back in to where it belongs. Maybe if I actually aligned this on the same line, so it's that one there. I'm just going to centre it on that line. There we go. And then by eye. Never quite goes the way you want. So it goes about there. That's absolutely fine, I think. Yep, and then just hole punch it. So what's that called? That's called cylinder 3, and we'll remove it from the stop. Make sure it's not a union, because that would be unfortunate. And then move that out of the way. And that should have created, there we go, the stop. Cool. Now a wise man would have created the pegs at the same time for the puck, but I did not. However, they are 180 degrees across, so that's absolutely fine, and they're a centimetre wide. So if I wanted it as a comfort fit, they've got to be 9.75 for a comfort fit. And if I create them, this is my theory, I'll put that back in wireframe. If I create them as cylinders, make that 100 again, 9.75. And it was a centimetre deep to drop in, wasn't it? Yeah, it's a centimetre deep to drop in. Oh, just realised the error of my ways there. I've cut that chunk out, but that's to the top. It's to the top of there instead of inside. So there should be another rim on the inside, like a negative version of this. What's the easiest way to do that? Probably create another hole. So if that is 25mm, which is the hole, and then I need to create a, and that's 5mm on it, the lip. No, it is in fact 2.5mm, so it's 5mm in total. So I need to create a cylinder. Yes, I have strayed off the thing I was building to work on something else, because that's how my brain works. So the 25. So that would be the main cylinder, and then the whole disc was 50, wasn't it, across? So I need another one for 50. I don't need it anywhere near as tall as that, and it's not workable, so I'll make it about that size, same with that one. So that it fits on my screen and I know what it's for, and I can't even remember what that's for now. So that's the outside of the disc, so that needs to shrink 5mm, so it'll be 45, but that doesn't leave me a tolerance, so it would be 44.75, that gives me the tolerance. 44.75, for some reason it isn't displaying as 8, and when I go to edit, no, it's not. Look at that. Why is it doing that? Nobody knows. So that's the comfort clit. That fits inside there, and then I have to remove this. So again, it would need to be plus 25 for the comfort. Which made no difference to the screen apparently, or at least it looked like it didn't do anything. So if I bring this in here and then cut that from that, to be fair I could probably do with enlarging that. That should create, so that's cylinder 5 and I need to remove cylinder 4. Do you think like actual engineers and like other more established YouTubers have like really nice ways of describing this and better workflows and what have you? Not I. So I'm just wanting to make sure that fits inside there. I wish you could just pick it up. I know like in virtual reality and movies and stuff. So that should fit in there perfectly. And then you just sort of fit it and move it and they go, yeah, that's a lovely engineered part. That'll do the job just nice. So yeah, that fits absolutely fine. Yeah. And it needs to be, I'll just go get the depth properly again. And it's flipped upside down because of course it did. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where is he? So there's your solid white lines. Where is it up here? That's right, they were to be seen. So I'm guessing it's that one there. It's literally disappeared in the middle. Good times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 centimeters tall, but that only needs to be 2 centimeters. And for it to be comfort fit, so it's got to be 20mm or 19.75, 75, yeah. And that would be, that'll sit in there like a wee ring, hopefully. Whoop, and then spin round comfortably. And then I need to create, so that's nice. Call that stop bottom. And then I need to create wee pegs to go on. That's what that was for. No, that one. Wasn't that one? Get rid. Was that my peg? Did I just delete the good peg? Where's the pegs? No. Where? Oh, it's way over there. Right. So okay, panic over. I thought I deleted the good thing. So I need to create a pin for that hole, which would be 9.95, which I believe that is 9.75, sorry. Yeah, so I need to create 2 of them. One of them needs to be 9.95, 9.975 again. 9.75, sorry. Talking a lot of nonsense. and then that needs to go in the bottom. So I need to centre this just to make sure this actually fits nice and snugly. I'll put it on a wee white line, and then that goes on the white line also. I got a panicky there. So that'll need to be on the inside because it can't be centred, but it hasn't aligned properly there. What has happened there? Hold on a wee minute while I mentally calculate. It would make more sense just to actually build it in here. And then I need to unjoin them parts again. So if you remember, was it P, and then by loose parts, and then back to edit mode. That's genius. One to remember. If nothing else is taken away for this video, it is that is genius. You can separate by loose parts. I don't understand why that's not sitting nice and flush though. This is again which I wish it would snap. So that gives me, I have to kind of do it guesstimating because it's not really sitting properly. So that's as best I can see. And then so is that in the middle? I mean, I'm putting my faith in computers right now, because if that goes a tiny bit wrong, and then I'll duplicate that, and then paste it, and move it to there. I'm doing this entirely by eye. I don't know why that's slightly higher up than the other one. It shouldn't be. Unless it's just me. If that was on the line, would it go? It could be a graphical thing. It could be that that's what it looks like on the screen, but that's not how it prints, because that's not on the line. But it looks like it would go in the hole. And that looks more centred now. So if I was to take that, and that, and that, and then zoom in, yeah, I just need to lower them to the bottom of it. Tension involved there. So that is cylinder 4 to join 2 and 5. Yeah, I'm laying that. I don't know if I can add 2 different things at the same time. 2, no. So we'll add that first, and then move that out of the way. Yep, that's done it. That's fine. And then just add 5. I believe 5. No, that's difference. There we go. And then move that one out the way also. And that should have given me my part. That actually looks right. For some reason it was overlapping on the other one. and with one tiny bit left to do, which is the magnet hole. So if I get this right this time, these magnets for some reason are not accurate. It's supposed to be 8mm, and the hole I created in the thing was, I'm pretty sure it was 8mm, but apparently not. So if I make that 8mm, but with a tolerance, oh yes, a comfortable tolerance, I make it 8x25. There we go, get rid of that one. Move it back on. And trying to remember how deep the magnets are. So the magnet's 2mm, so I need it to be, well, it doesn't really matter how deep the punch is, but I need the hole to be 2.25. How on earth am I doing that by eye? Well, first I need to put that on a line so that I can measure it. There, and then, yeah, I'm maybe shrink that because that's way too big now. Trying to get the handles on the screen. So if that's 2.25's probably about there, I would say. Just make sure that's in the hole, yep. And then remove cylinder 2. Oh, took a photo there for some reason. No. And then move that across to the other side. Just while we're there, I just want to double check that that cut the hole. It looks like it, yep, that's it. And then make sure, make sure it's centered. Pretty much looks centered to me. Yeah, I'd say so. And then remove cylinder 2. My entire blender journey is just cutting holes out of things. That's it. So a magnet goes in here, magnet goes in here. That should technically fit in there. Wee hole for the screw. And that needs to fit to the bottom of my puck. Yep. Thought for a minute this thing here was part of my design, but no, good, thankfully. Now I just want to make sure, well, it doesn't really matter, as long as I fix the bottom in a certain angle, it doesn't really matter the orientation that this goes in. So I need to make sure it's straight though. Put that on my frame. Alright boy, my youngest has come to see me. He's decided that my engineering career might take off at some point in the near future, just not today. So I'm just lining up the centre hole because that's the important one, because the pin has to go right through there. So if I go solid, you should be able to see right through that with no edge. There we go, nice, that'll do. And I just need to lower it down to there. And that's it sitting neatly. Just remembered something else I was going to do. So anyway, before I forget, because I'm awfully good at forgetting, I'm going to join, so that's cylinder 4 to my main stop. And then move cylinder 4 out of the way. Halfway across the screen. And that should be almost nearly my fancy stop. There we go, nice. I'm going to save that just in case. Now the last thing I need to do is the pin. So what I wanted to do was this pinhole here can't be the same width as this pinhole. It has to be the same as the centre ring, not the... Where is it? Oh, better if I get it on the screen. So, pin top, where is pin top? There. So essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a hole preferably on the actual thing. So that's the top of the pin. That's not right, why is that? Why is that big massive hole? That shouldn't be that big. The hole in the middle's the wrong size. Hold. Trouble in technical details there, young'un, add on. So that's 2.5. Ah, that's why. So that hole should only be the same width as the smallest bit of the pin. No, that bit, that's the peg. So I've made the hole too big. Now can I repair the hole? So that should only be, what is it? What's wrong with one? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so it should be 16mm wide, the hole, with a lip at the top that is 20mm. I need to write this down because I'm going to forget this because the dog's starting to nag me to go out for a pee. Yeah. I'll need to pause it and be back in a second because he's needing a pee. So it's only this bit here that needs to be 16. 20, sorry. Needs to be 20. Just gotta double check it. So 1, 2, yeah, it's way too big. So I need to fill that in again. I could collapse it, but that would be complicated. So I don't even remember what that part's for. See how easy my brain gets confused? So that's the bottom, which is already done. That's the... well, I'll use it. Bring it on here. Bring it up. I just need to fill in that hole there. And it's like, it doesn't work, does it? I need to cut it to the right size. Alright, so I'll just delete that. So it needs to be 2 centimeters tall, because it needs to be exact, otherwise it's going to put a bump on the top. So mesh, cylinder, so say it's 30 because it's got to cover the hole. 30, follow by 20. Just get it centered. Well, covered. Bring it down. That's about right, isn't it? Because I'm just going to join. So that is cylinder, just cylinder on its own. And then enable in, join, join, cylinder. And that should fill in that hole. But with a tiny indent. That doesn't matter, because essentially I'm just going to create another hole but slightly smaller, so it doesn't really matter. Or does it? Will that annoy me? Probably. Why is it not that flush? Will that annoy me? Will I even notice? Probably not. It's fine. So we'll get rid of that one. So I need to create basically an invert of that. So I need a cylinder that is gotta remember this now. 20.25. No, didn't even put that in. 20.25. Did I do 100 thingies? Don't remember. And then 40, I'll do. So that's for the lip. So we'll leave that as the lip punch. And then, what is it? 16.25, a similar one. Have you had all the adventure you're having for the day? Ah, you're a good boy. 16.25. And that should go straight through the middle, and it doesn't really matter the length, I don't think, but just for functionality, we'll make it that size. We'll align it on top of each other. I think what's happened there, this is nothing to do with the design whatsoever, but I think what is happening there is the youngest is just saying, I have not been fed enough, you can, Robbie. I mean, you could feed us if you want to, if he felt so inclined. And then move that up to join. So lip punch with cylinder. Well, that was a difference. That was the wrong thing altogether. That's better. And then that creates my wee punch. Get rid of that. And then all I need to worry about is exactly where this goes. So from the top there, bring them in centre. Centre that on the white line, because that would be the logical thing to do, but no, that's actually not the right thing to do. Can I move this? I'm going to have to move this so that it's on. That is centred on the white line. What? That doesn't look centred, does it? Does it look centred to you? Ah, right, okay. I'll go up. Again, that doesn't look centred, does it? I don't know how to get the centre point in here, but basically that needs to be level. 1, 2 and a bit. 1, 2 and a bit, yeah, so that looks about centred. And then put it on its side, and then zoom it down. And so basically it needs to be a centimetre. The hole needs to be a centimetre, even though the cap's only 2 mil. So it needs to be a centimetre lift plus 2 mil for the cap. So that has disappeared again, that line has gone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, should be 10, 11, 12, yep. I'll put it in a tiny wee bit there, and that'll give me my tolerance. And that should just cut out of that. So, and remove, what's it called? Lip punch. Just double checking, you can never be sure. Now that should be the top. So that's my lift riser, that's my centre, that should clip in for my magnets. There's a funny line there, what's that line for? Don't know what that line's doing. You see it? remember there's this thing. Is it there? No. There's a thing for 3D print kit. Can't remember I've done it now. And it told you what was wrong with your object. That looks pretty good. Gotta save it and we'll print that. Although I'm keen to print that because obviously that's got to be functional, but it's a bit dull looking. So I could maybe do, I don't know, excite it up a bit. Don't know, I'll have a think. Maybe just print it out first and then I'll export it first. Oh yeah. I'll print it and see. No, that was the wrong thing. I'll get that. Get you to there. That was because the dog thumped the back of my chair. I'm going to call that top puck. And for this particular job, I have purchased this. Aye, if I no like me to think outside the box. However, this is, where does it say? TPU. So this is rubberized rather than plastic so that it can take the impact. Because if I just use normal stuff, it's going to smash. I have never actually used this stuff though, so I'm not quite sure how easy it is to fit. We will find out now. Maybe move some stuff. Maybe move the printer. That's a wee bit neat. Maybe move that a wee bit more. There we go. And then put that in there. And I did find a printer profile for TPU, which I've installed already. Although I didn't bore you with showing that, I just spent the last 25 minutes installing that into Bamboo Studio. So hopefully it's still on this thing. Where are we? There. And then load. And there it is. It is majestic. That is exactly what I designed. However, in my head, for some reason, I thought it would be much smaller. It is absolutely massive. For perspective, there is the middle cog thing, which hopefully fits. I've not even tried it yet. Oh no, it's upside down. So yeah, my first time using TPU, and there is a major bit of stringing going on. But it looks okay. It has done the wee bits for the magnets. It is a solid chunks. It's kind of lucky that I bought a new reel, because spool even, because I thought that's the entire spool, but no, actually it's used hardly any. It's very hollow, very light, but it does feel nice and spongy, which I quite like. So I'm going to give it a bit tidy up and then get back, put the magnets in as well, and then we'll get it installed and see what it actually looks like, and then maybe even get like a marker and draw something on there, because I didn't like the fact that that's plain. That's kind of annoying me. Back soon. And there it is installed. However, bit of a disaster. The tolerances seem very, very tight. I don't know if it's because of TPU, but when trying, I've fitted the base, and when trying to lift the base, it's very, very tight in here, and it's snapped off the wee cap, which I didn't realise it was quite so fragile. So it's still got the middle spindle and that, and it still does the job. You can put it on, you just have to find the hooks, which is there, or well, I say the hooks, the holes. It's a big heavy old door. But there we go, that's so that the dogs can't get out from a distance, or from the inside of the room, should I say. And then flip it round. Actually quite handy to have the wee pin to press there just to lift it because of the tolerance. And then you put it back on, finds its wee hooks, and then it just sits. And then this lets me open the door. Now, technically it should save the door from the camera from the door, but there you go. Does the job. It's a big heavy old door. That'll do.